People can make counterfeit currency in the backseat of their car. Printer scanner copiers that are available for now $50 at Staples. I can make counterfeit currency and try to pass that at a store within 20 minutes. My name is Jonathan Wackrow. I spent 14 years in the United States Secret Service. What a lot of people don't realize is that the Secret Service was formed with the primary mission of suppressing counterfeit currency. And that is why today we'll be breaking down counterfeit scenes in TV and film. The Secret Service was started in 1865, signed into law by Abraham Lincoln just before he went to Ford's Theater. Confederate soldiers were counterfeiting U.S. Federal Reserve notes and trying to flood the market to destabilize the North. That's where the Secret Service was born. This scene is from To Live and Die in L.A. This movie is actually the way that I learned to make counterfeit currency. We watched as agents in training with the U.S. Secret Service this movie and this clip. What we ended up doing is taking every single step that was done in this movie and replicated it in real life. What he did here is he took a photograph, created a negative of that photograph. From the negative, he cleaned up some of the errors that were present when he took the photograph. He removed the sequential serial numbers that are located on the bill. Those will be printed separately. Then from the negative, he transferred that to a metal plate. That metal plate will be utilized to actually print the counterfeit currency. So I can attest that this process works. When we talk about the serialization, the serial number on the bill, it is right here. This is what law enforcement utilizes to track genuine and counterfeit currency. Oftentimes, counterfeit currency will just have one serial number. K11, that represents what Federal Reserve Bank that bill is assigned to. Counterfeiters don't typically go into that level of detail, understanding the connectivity between serial numbers and Federal Reserve banks. And just feeling the black part of the ink, you can feel that it's raised up, indicating that it's an intaglio style of printing on a genuine bill. The real genuine US currency is made with offset printers, but it's in a different style. It's called intaglio, as opposed to what we're seeing here where the image sits on top of the metal. Intaglio printing presses down 12 tons on a piece of paper, and as it pulls back, that ink naturally rises up and then dries, and that's where you get that textured feel. Replication of that is very difficult. I mean, this movie was made by a Secret Service agent, and actually they made $1 million worth of counterfeit currency. Some of it got out into circulation and was passed. There was not a lot of control over that currency. This scene is from Deadly Transaction.
What are you doing?
Printing some more of these babies. God, it even feels like money.
Yeah, because it's 75% cotton, 25% linen. Just like the real thing.
In the Secret Service, we refer to counterfeit currency that is printed on a printer scanner copier, a P-note referencing printer. The ease of making counterfeit currency these days is scary. Even the paper itself, they know what the makeup of the paper should be.
75% cotton, 25% linen.
That's just resume paper. That's paper that they can buy at Staples and print away. It starts with taking an image of a genuine bill, so you can do that on your phone. You put that onto a computer, and as long as you have the right paper, the right ink, you can start printing. Now think of that at scale. 10,000 people doing the exact same thing. Now you start impacting the economy, and that's why counterfeit currency, even with a printer scanner copier, is so dangerous.
Are you nuts?
What?
We are not doing that again.
Whoa, hang on.
She easily rips them in half. That wouldn't happen with genuine currency. That's a clear indication that the quality of the paper stock is very low. That's what investigators are looking at, is not only the quality of the printing, but the quality of the paper that it's printed on. That is exactly why it's necessary to have security control measures in genuine currency. The most notable is the colored fibers that are embedded all through the currency. Some of it is viewable with the naked eye, some of it is not. That is extremely hard to replicate by counterfeiters. The blue line right down the middle, the 3D strip, when it's scanned, it actually doesn't scan correctly. We see the small colored printing of the denomination all across the face of the document. This different color in the 100. This is called OVI ink, optical varying ink. If you observe just by shifting the bill, you see the different colorations of that optical varying ink. Underneath where you see Franklin, it's all micro printing, all the way across the bottom. That micro printing was done by hand. Once backlit, additional security features come into play. Most notable is the security strip here that has the denomination of the bill. This security strip is embedded during the manufacturing of the paper itself. The other one is this watermark. A lot of counterfeiters will try to print a watermark on there, but the only way to really get the quality is this is imprinted into the paper when it's manufactured. In addition to these security features, there's a number of classified security control measures that are embedded into this Federal Reserve note that I just can't talk about today. This scene is from Catch Me If You Can.
You got any of the checks?
Yeah, I got a counterfeit he drew on Great Lakes Savings and Loan. See, he's just using a stencil machine and an Underwood.
Yeah, it's a teller at the bank. I mean, banks, they always use hand stamps for the dates, see? They get used over and over again, so they always get worn out.
This story of Frank Abagnale and his involvement with the FBI is centered around forgery of bank checks, and that's different than counterfeiting. Counterfeiting is the unauthorized duplication of something that is genuine. When we talk about counterfeiting currency, the genuine article is the Federal Reserve note. Forgery is actually altering something that mimics something that may be real. So mimicking a bank check or even altering a bank check with the intent to fraud. Not too many people understand the nuances of a bank check. That's what the fraudster's playing off of.
Tell me what you think.
That's a fake.
How do you know? You haven't looked at it.
Well, there's no perforated edge, right? I mean, this check was hand cut, not fed. Yeah. Paper's double bonded, much too heavy to be a bank check.
Those are all the little details that investigators may not know or may not be aware of. He was keying in on the artistic quality of the check, what made that check believable to some and not to others. That's why the FBI relies on individuals who have a criminal history that understand the nuances that are necessary to make a fraudulent scheme successful.
Would you be interested in working with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit?
We have the power to take you out of prison.
We see throughout the movie Frank going around the world perpetrating the exact same fraudulent scheme. It wasn't just the check itself, it was how it was presented. In law enforcement, we look at that and we say, this individual had a reason for being. It was the personality at the time. If he was a pilot, a doctor, a lawyer, he made sure that there was believability and a reason for being in that moment to engage in that transaction. That is an elevated skill set of a criminal mastermind, and Frank executed it near flawlessly. This scene is from Money Heist.
El trabajo mejor pagado de la historia, 2.400 millones de euros. Tal vez más, todo dependía del tiempo que pudiéramos aguantar dentro.
This scene is actually representing the production of genuine currency. The size and scale of this facility mimics that we would see at a governmental printing facility that's utilized for currency. This is not a counterfeiting operation. They seized a facility that is intended to make genuine currency. The issue is that genuine currency has traceability to it. Challenge for law enforcement is figuring out exactly what that traceability is. What were the serial numbers that were utilized on this batch of printing? Where does this currency land into the economic cycle? If you're able to keep that currency outside of the financial systems, you have a higher success rate of continuously passing and utilizing that money. No one's thinking about the economic impact, but that is actually part of the order of consequence here when this does hit the economy. A misstep like this, a hostile takeover, and the production of genuine currency that can enter into an economy could destroy a country very rapidly. That's why these locations are some of the most secure locations in the world. The accuracy is fantastic, it's believable, however, the plausibility just doesn't meet reality. This scene is from Rush Hour 2.
You guys ever heard of the super bill?
Yeah, I heard of it. It's a myth, some kind of counterfeit.
Honey, 14 out of 15 world banks can't even tell the difference. The paper is Crane linen blend, and the bills are printed in U.S. intaglio presses.
The supernote is real. It is a real thing and is a real threat to the U.S. economy. Counterfeit currency that's produced by foreign nation-state actors that are trying to undermine the U.S. economy. Most of these notes pass through the economy undetected until they get to the Federal Reserve Bank. However, there are mistakes. And there's a whole classified section of the Secret Service that investigates that. So tracing those mistakes in the super bill are what keep us one step ahead of the criminal at all times.
In 1959, the United States was very friendly with the Shah of Iran. Why? Because we wanted his oil. Our government gave him a gift, a U.S. Treasury intaglio printing press. Now, it's the only one to ever leave the country.
The printing press is not important. You can get a printing press overseas in a lot of different locations. What is important are the printing plates, the images of the U.S. currency that is the most critical.
There's only one way to spot a fake. They use an optical transfer ink from India that burns red, you see? Now the real ink, it burns black.
Burning a bill is not an indicator as to whether or not it's counterfeit currency or genuine currency as related to the ink. It's not a metric that investigators utilize in determining whether or not a bill is counterfeit or genuine. This scene is from Lethal Weapon 4.
阿红，二叔，你们都来了，都来了，到底是怎么回事？
作为把你们弄到美国的条件，叔叔答应为我们做一些事情。
They're utilizing an artisan to create the plates that will then be utilized to create counterfeit currency. The attention to detail and focusing on every minute aspect, that is a style of counterfeiting that is just not replicated today. We used to spend so much time learning about different families down in Colombia, and that's what they do for a living. We could actually trace down where they handed off their plates to their kids. There's generational artisans that you can pick up and trace on over the years. If I'm an artisan and I'm teaching somebody to make a plate, I'm also teaching them my mistake. I'm teaching them what I may not realize to be a genuine aspect of a bill. Well, that mistake is traceable, and you can see it showing up years and years and years. We still see notes that are attributed back to Pablo Escobar in circulation today.
Hey, if Benny's scared of this guy, he's gotta be a Chinese triad. Those guys will kill anyone who gets in their way.
Thanks, Ing.
Hey, keep me posted.
Yeah.
I've never seen that before. If you're going to go through the process of building a program that checks the quality through imagery, then you should have the ability to replicate that imagery through a digital format. This seems a little bit hyperbolic here in terms of how their process is being described. They're computer scanners or things that aid in detection of counterfeit currency. Broadly, there are control measures that are out there, but a lot of those are classified and they're focused primarily on the supernote. This scene does a good job at representing how to make counterfeit currency. It's not mimicking genuine Federal Reserve notes, but the process mimics what counterfeiters would do to counterfeit US currency. Reviewing all of these different scenes actually speaks to the different interpretations that Hollywood has on counterfeiting, counterfeit production. Whether the counterfeit was made in an offset printer or a printer, scanner, copier, the consequence is the same. There's an intent to defraud that impacts the US economy. That's why law enforcement has to consistently keep ahead of the criminal activity to protect our financial systems. I'm Jonathan Wackrow, former US Secret Service agent. Thank you for watching.